Merry Kothmas, everyone. Thank you for tuning in for our first ever tournament review on the OMG Games Online. Today was the Merry Kothmas event, in which we have our two finals players here, Mr. Johnson taking in first, and William Howe, which was his intrepid competitor. As you can see, it was Silly Hat Day here at OMG Games. So the finals came down to Red-Black Vampires versus Red-Black Rakdos is what we're going to call it. It's kind of a mid-range idea. It's super neat, kind of unique. I haven't seen any of these builds before, so I think we're going to start there. Well, you have some really interesting card choice options in your main deck. The things that stand out to me are Contaminated Grounds, for one, Howling Banshee, Black Knight, things like this that are a little bit off the beaten path. How did they perform for you today?
Black Knight today was a champ. I played against many small, similar decks, and the first strike just gets you there. Also against my opponent, Mr. Johnson, the blackness of him affects the Doomblade, so it's a very big card against him.
Right on. Actually, I saw you playing against the Quest for the Holy Relic deck earlier, and it just read unblockable. That was really good. That looked like a nice way to close the distance.
Well, it certainly didn't pan out, but it could have got there.
Okay, so how about Contaminated Grounds? It looks like that's kind of an offshoot to the classic Spreading Seas idea. That come into play a lot today?
It performs similar to Spreading Seas, but in the sense that if you Spreading Seas an island, you get a card and that's it. If you Contaminated Ground a swamp, they don't want to tap it. And if you Contaminated Ground a manland, it's a swamp. It performed well.
Very good. Very good. So you had some sideboard options here. These cards down would be the sideboard. No clear indication of that, though. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What would you change? Should you run through it again?
For the sideboard, I wanted to put in Pyroclasm, but when I look at my main board, Pyroclasm wipes it.
Get racked egg?
Yes. So I think the all-black sideboard, it performed well. Like, the Nighthawks against Mono Red was good. The Hex Mage against Mono Red. Anything with first strike against small things with 1 toughness works like a pro. And when the Banshees are too dangerous to play because of the 3 life loss, Skinrender picks up the slack.
Strong play. Very strong play. Well, as you can see, the difference between this black-red deck and this black-red deck is 4 Koths. That is the difference between first and second. Here's the clean divide here. So if we turn over to Mr. Johnson's side of thing, we have a very strong, archetypical Vampires build. Now, this is the new build of Vampires. This is just kind of budgeting over the last couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
It's been pretty heavy over Moto. This is actually very similar to the Keith McLaughlin, Michael Posquet Vampires deck from the Star City Games Open in Virginia.
Which I believe you were shooting for?
Yes, I was doing event coverage. Couple of big differences. We actually took out the Hex Mages from the main deck and ran a 61st card for running 3 Bloodthrone Vampires. It gave an extra sack outlet for the Mark of Mutiny combo, plus it gave more combo-liciousness with Bloodghasts and the Returning and so on and so forth.
And this list is just so full of rich combos. Bloodthrone Vampire, Mark of Mutiny, obviously very strong. Same thing's true with the Viscerals here. Just lots and lots of good little things there. Now, the only thing I see in the main board that drew my attention was the 2 Dark Tutelage. How did those perform for you today? Did you find any tempo loss on a very quick, aggressive deck into a 3 casting cost enchantment? How did that perform for you today?
Actually, it's pretty good. One of the things that's nice about Dark Tutelage is it's really usually only there for game 1. It's for that incremental card advantage in the opening game pre-board because you have so much more removal and so many dudes to get in there.
Sound logic, very sound logic.
99.9% of the time they come out post-board. Now, most of the lists were running 3 Dark Tutelages. That seemed a little rich to me. I was finding I was, most of the time in game 1, I was drawing a second one and I was taking the damage from it. So 2 seemed good. If you got it, got it. If you didn't, you didn't.
Right on. So did you have any problem matchups today on your way to the win, or was everything clear sailing with this? And if it was clear sailing, what did you dodge that was super nice?
Well, one of the matchups that's really bad for this deck is the mono-white / blue-white quest deck.
Yeah.
And because where this deck can go off, turn 3, turn 4, it's going off turn 2, and unless you have a mark of mutiny, or it's small enough that you can bolt it, or they just don't get anything, you're pretty done.
Right on. Okay.
So, and that actually that forced a lot of things into my sideboard.
Any MVP from the main deck today? Anything that really stood out?
Well, it's kind of a toss-up. Bloodghast is just a house.
For sure.
Combos with everything. Mark of Mutiny is ridiculous. It seems really unfair to steal somebody's creature, swing for an extra damage, and then sack it on them.
Very true.
Especially when you get like Grave Titans, you get 2 free tokens, or you get somebody's Argentum armored creature, and it just seems really good.
Okay, so if we turn over to the sideboard here, a lot of 2-ofs, a really thin sideboard. I thought that was really interesting. We have the Cunning Spark Mage Collar combo in the side as well. Demon of Deathgate, which is super amazing. I love seeing that in lists these days. Hex Mage, Doomblade, Memoricides, Arc Trails. Why the thin sideboard? What has you spread out in such a way?
Well, this is a bit of a departure from the regular board. Most of the boards have the Hex Mages in the main deck, so they have the Vampire Nighthawks, and they don't run Collar. I think Michael's deck had the Cunning Spark Mage, but didn't have the Collar. Looking at the metagame that we had here today, we didn't have a lot of control.
Yeah.
So I didn't need the duresses that the deck usually runs. Now, as for thinness, it's more of the deck is so chocked full of stuff. You don't want to disrupt it too much. So usually the board ins, board outs are 2 here, 2 there.
Absolutely, tweaking, right?
Yeah. So like, you're adding your Doom Blades and possibly your Arc Trails just for more removal for that early game, because the late game just goes in your favor with the cluster of Highborns. Against the ramp decks, you've got Demons of Deathgate to put them on basically a turn 3 clock.
Let's just say that again one more time. Can we just say once again, with Demons of Deathgate, you put them on a serious clock. Thank you. I just love hearing that.
Now, in some of them, like Mike's deck, he was running Spark Mage but no Collar. Collar just seemed too good to pass up.
Absolutely. Did you not pilot a Collar to the win in the finals there, Game 3?
Yes, Collar actually won me the game because I was down to 6 life with an active Bloodghast against me and nothing really going on, and I put it onto a Lavaclaw Reach and just kept swinging for the fences.
It was brilliant. It was so good. Out of the sideboard, was there anything that came in a lot? Any tweaks or changes that you feel you should have made or would make if you had another chance?
Really depends on the metagame.
Yeah.
The Memoricides are really strong against control. So are the Vampire Hex Mages. I was lucky enough to kind of see what the metagame was going to be. See that there wasn't a lot of control, so I was able to kind of cut those down. I didn't board in the Memoricides once, but then I didn't play a Valakut ramp deck.
That's very true.
So that's kind of what they're there for. So I don't think there's a lot I would change. Some decks aren't running the Demon of Deathgate. I just think it's too good if they don't have removal for it right away, just to clunk.
Honestly, Demons of Deathgate is one of my favorite things. With Bloodghast, with all these sack effects, creatures gain you card advantage come into play, such as Gatekeeper. It's so strong. It seems like such an excellent play in so many matchups. Well, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for your competition, and good luck with those costs. I'm sure you'll be playing Mono Red next week. And thank you, the viewer, for coming in and watching this webcast with us. And I hope to see you on January 22nd for Grand Prix.
Nope.
Grand Prix trial?
It's Grand Prix trial Denver.
Denver. It's for Denver. I just had to turn to my players to be reminded. On January 22nd, some more serious prize for that as well. Thank you very much.